Just cleaned this copy of X-Men 92. It's in kind of rough shape, but has really good colors. It was pretty dirty. There's a grease stain right here. I tried a soft eraser on it. Didn't really do a whole lot, but I don't want to go too heavy on that because it's yellow. That comes off pretty easily. So that's just going to have to stay. There's a dent right here on Angel's head. Doesn't go all the way through though, so hopefully that'll come out during the pressing. Mostly it's just wrinkling all along the edges. Especially down in this corner. A little bit of the corner is worn away there. A little bit of a tear right there. But mostly just wrinkling, no real major creases or folds or anything. Same on the back side. Just mostly wrinkling around the edges. A little bit of a piece missing there too. That's a nice big wrinkle. And a little tiny tear right there. This is the pressing setup that I use. Just a piece of cardboard. This is Teflon sheeting. Put a piece of Teflon down. And then I use, these are stainless steel plates, 1/8 of an inch thick. You could do 1/4 of an inch too. I've been using these for over 2 years. They haven't worked at all. So these would come out of the oven 170 degrees. So just pull it out with some gloves on. Put the first sheet or the first plate down. Then a piece of Teflon sheeting over that. And then piece of cardstock on the center fold. And then I always put a thick piece of paper between the front cover and the splash page. I don't use cardstock because the cardstock is too thick and it can leave a line along the spine. So I just use a real thick piece of cardstock. That way, if there's any deep creases or dents on the cover, it helps to get those out if you have this sheet between. So I put the comic down, another piece of Teflon over that, and then I pull the second piece of sheet metal out of the oven, lay it right on top, last piece of Teflon over that, and then most like t-shirt presses say 70 to 90 pounds of pressure. So I just put 2 45-pound dumbbells right on top, so that's 90 pounds. And then I just let it sit for 2 hours until it's completely cooled off. And usually I'll pull one off, wait for about 15 minutes, pull the second one off, wait another 15 minutes, just so all the weight doesn't come off instantly. And then just pull the comic out. Probably the most important thing is to not heat the plates up over 170 degrees. A couple of times I thought on some comics that were real badly creased, if I turn it up to 200, it'll work better, but it's actually worse. If you go above 170 degrees, the heat will cause, especially around the borders, it'll cause big waves. So just don't go above 170 and you shouldn't have that problem. You can go lower, obviously. Sometimes I'll do 150 on a really delicate, really old comic that's kind of falling apart, if I do decide to press it, but never go above 170. When I steam the comic, I just hang it up. I just strung up a piece of fishing line over my sink, and then just find the center page, hang it on the fishing line. So I'll steam the back first, and then just turn it around. Steam the front, and then as soon as I'm done steaming, that's when I pull the hot plates out of the oven, press it as quickly as possible so that it's still as warm and wet as possible from the steamer. So I come pretty close to the comic with the steamer. Don't want to actually touch it because the ceramic face would burn the paper, but just maybe about an inch away. And I do about 5 or 6 complete passes on each side. I always do the back side first so that I finish on the front. That way the front will be the most warm and have the most moisture when I put it under the plates. Flip this around. The more ink the cover has on it, the less it will warp when you're steaming it. If it's a really white cover, it'll warp up quite a bit just because there's less ink. But it doesn't really matter how much it warps up when you're steaming it. Once you put it under the plates, it'll flatten it out. Just got done pressing this X-Men 92. It's looking pretty good. That pit on Angel's head is still there. That was pretty deep though. That goes almost all the way through. But you can see along the edges just how much better it looks. Still just a little bit of a bend right there. A little bit right there. But it's looking really good, especially along the spine. Almost all those wrinkles are gone. The backside especially. About 90% of all those wrinkles are gone. Still just a slight in there, but that's barely even noticeable. This is a printing crease. Not much can be done about that, but at least it's not a tear. And even this grease spot here, what I've noticed is that just the pressing, the steaming and pressing a lot of times will pull a little bit of the grease stains off the paper into the Teflon sheeting, I guess. But it definitely makes them go away, just makes everything brighter.